Welcome to Online Presenters Toastmasters. This is a club that meets online and specifically focuses on learning skills for better webinars and online events, including by not getting rattled when things go wrong. We do have a series of workshops that we've been putting together, and the next one will be on how to start an online club. And I pasted in the chat the list of the people who have signed up to participate. So I'm going to say a few words, but we have people from other clubs talking about how they did it, how they got together the members that they needed to charter, and how they've run their club going forward, maybe a little bit different from how we operate. I want to thank Ring Central. Ring Central allows us to use the Ring Central meetings platform, which is what we're meeting in right now. It's a variation of Zoom, and it is integrated with their other offerings. It's nice of them to allow us to use it at no cost, but they do want to let me know that the cloud is winning in business communications and Ring Central is winning in the cloud. We do suggest that if you're joining us for the first time, be aware of issues we can run into with audio feedback and so forth. It does help to use a headset, or earbuds will work in a pinch. Mute your mic when it's not your turn. So the controls for video on and off and microphone on and off are in the lower left-hand corner. There are also a couple of different modes of video. There's a gallery view where you see everybody, and there is a speaker view where you see the active speaker. If you're visiting as a guest and you decide you want to become a member, we do ask you to come to at least 2 meetings as a guest so you know what you're in for. Understand that this is an advanced club. It's not meant for absolute beginners. So if you don't meet the default minimum requirement, you can still twist our arms. You can talk us into it. We've made some exceptions, but you'll have to make a speech about why you would be a good addition to the club. Let's see, Educational Minute we already did. I think that means we're at the point where we say, let's do it. Well, and I'm doing something wrong. Let's see, hold on a moment. There we go. All right. So I'm going to make Roger, who will be our Toastmaster of the day, I'm going to make him the host of this meeting so that he has the all-powerful ability to mute people who are not behaving themselves, who are causing excess noise on the line. And I'm going to mute myself and let Roger take it away.
Hello, everybody, and online presenters. Welcome to our meeting tonight. Let us dive right into the meeting. The theme of today is Clean Out Your Computer Day. And I will let our grammarian to tell you a little bit more about our word of the day. Let me introduce first all about my helpers. First up, my timer. Please introduce yourself, Fabiola.
Hello. Today, my task will be to signal everyone when they're having a task. This weekend, we are having our carnival. So I thought, let you see what we are up to. This will be green. This is when you have your minimum time. You will see this. When you're coming about to end, you will get my yellow mask. And when your time is up, this will be your signal. The speakers have different timing. Our first speaker has 10 minutes. That will be 8, 9, and 10. Our 2 other speakers are 6 minutes. That will be 4, 5, and 6. Back to you. Toastmasters to the meeting.
Thank you. Next, may I have Mr. Scott, our grammarian and R counter.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My first job is the R counter, and I will be listening intently for filler words, you know, right, all those words that creep in when we don't take the time to pause. So the message from the R counter is, remember our great friend, the pause. My next job is the grammarian, and our word of the day is deplorable. It's an adjective, shockingly bad in quality, deserving strong condemnation. And it came into the English language in 1605 from the French. I will be listening for strikingly and sparkling good phrases and deplorable grammar. I would encourage you to use the word of the day and also the theme of the day. And I shall place the word of the day in the chat box for everybody to see, and I will be reporting back later to report on my findings. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Next up, Madam Adrian.
Hello, I am your watcher tonight. It is my job to watch you and see what's happening in your background, and then I'll give you a report at the end. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Tamara.
Thank you. Today my role is vote counter, so I will be gathering and counting all votes that you will be casting. So please send them to me after speakers finish speaking and evaluators finish evaluating, and of course after our table topic session. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you. Next we have Madam Deborah.
Well, I am going to, I hope I'm unmuted. I'm going to assist the Toastmaster of the day in checking and going through the chat function of the meeting, of everything that's happening behind the scenes.
Thank you very much. It is time for us to dive right into our speeches. We have 3 wonderful speeches with us. First up, we have a technical presentation, an advanced manual presentation. Then next up, we have 2 pathway icebreakers. To introduce our first speaker is our evaluator, David Carr. David, please introduce our first speaker and his speech.
All right. Sorry for the delay, Roger. This club runs a little bit like traffic in Miami. Dave Barry says that if you drive in Miami, the reason traffic is so bad is each person drives according to the laws of his country of origin. And our club sort of runs on those rules sometimes too, because I'm not used to introducing the speaker up front. I'm used to giving them an evaluation after the fact. But I will have to adapt because other people think that this is a good best practice. Karthik will be giving a technical briefing. His title is Beyond Bangalore, and his challenge here is to use a systematic approach to organize some technical material into a concise presentation and tailor the presentation to the audience's needs, interests, and knowledge levels. So Karthik, you're on, sir.
Thank you, David. I'm going to take a minute to share my screen here. Can all of you see my screen? All right. Just a second, guys. I also want to make sure that I can see all of you on the second screen. All right, beautiful. How many of you have been to India? I can see all of you, so I can see raised hands. I can see Murli raising his hand. I'm expecting that from you, Murli. Jay, I can see Carol raising your hands. So if you've not been to India so far, I would like you to visit India. And this is just a bird's eye view of what you can expect. This is a bird's eye view of what's there to India beyond Bangalore. I take it that Bangalore is a city that gets talked about a lot in America. But then there's honestly a lot to India besides Bangalore, and that's what I would like to talk about. Just by way of motivation, do you guys know which country sent the largest volunteer army to support the Allies in World War II? The answer would be India. India, with 2.5 million soldiers, was the largest volunteer army fighting for, or rather with, the Allied forces in World War II. There's a lot of people who make a lot of money in India as well. This is one of my favorite superstars, Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan. He pulled in a very, very cool $38 million last year, and he was the 8th highest paid actor in the world. And this guy actually ranks higher than Tom Hanks, who probably pulled in about $30 million or something. Two very, very big numbers, no doubt. But still, this is probably something that a lot of people don't know. Something I'm very proud of, given that I'm an aerospace engineer. India sent a satellite to the moon about 7 years ago. It was called the Chandrayaan satellite, and this was the first man-made object to cover water on the moon. So this is just some things to say that there's more to India besides IT support services, and there's a lot to India that you could do when you visit, and there's a lot beyond Bangalore. That's what I want to talk about. So let's start from the very north. So if you can see my screen right here, that's what India looks like. And the red portion, the shaded portion, that's obviously the northernmost part of India. And this is where we have the mountains, right? We have this Himalayas right at the top of where we are. And this acts as a natural wall between India and its neighbors, whom India doesn't exactly have pleasant relationships with. But at the same time, this is also one of the most beautiful places on earth. Has anyone read this book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance? I see Carol raising her hand again. It's a beautiful book, and it's one of the books that I read when I was growing up, I guess. Left a very strong impression on me. This is stoicism and mysticism on a bike, on a motorcycle, right? So you just keep driving for hours together, you're by yourself, and you're discovering yourself as you're discovering your motorcycle as well. The Manali, which is this portion right here, to Leh, which is this portion right here, is a 475-kilometer trip. So 475 kilometers is roughly going to be around 270 or 280 miles. It seems like it's not a long distance by American standards, but trust me, that's something that can take you a fair bit of distance to time to travel in India, especially because this road is 4,000 meters above sea level. This is one of the highest motorable roads in the world. So what you would do is you would go into Delhi, and from Delhi you would fly into Manali, and from there you would take a motorcycle. And this is passing through some of the highest motorable roads in the world. And why do you want to do this? You want to do this because you want to see these amazing scenes. So the color of the mountains is the color of sandish granite, right? I mean, for the most part, it's beige in color. The peaks are snow-capped, and the water is just a gorgeous aquamarine blue. And the places where you can see the mountains merge with the water in the distance, that's a transition that you would probably see in movies that are absolutely enhanced by CG, computer graphics, except that you don't need any computer graphics here. This is just going to be right in front of your eyes. If you're feeling particularly spiritual, you would go to some of the Buddhist monasteries in Ladakh. So what you see in the top right corner over here, that's a Buddhist monastery. So, I mean, boundaries today are man-made, right? About 100 years ago, Ladakh and Tibet kind of merged into each other. So a lot of Ladakhi culture is very similar to Tibetan culture. And if you know this, Tibet is where the Dalai Lama originates from. He lives in India right now, but that's where he was born. So this is the seat of Buddhist learning today. And what do you see at the bottom right? That's a very stereotypical example of Ladakhi food. It's called a momo. It's like a pastry where you stuff vegetables and meat into a patty, and then you bake it, and then you have it with that sauce right there. So this is why you would want to fly to Ladakh. If you move just a little bit south of Ladakh, you have the deserts of India, and that's Rajasthan. So these deserts are like the deserts you would find in Africa, right? I mean, so we were right there with the glaciers, and you move just a little south and you have deserts. So what do you have to go to Rajasthan for? You go to Rajasthan because you have these amazing camel safaris in the night. So that's something that's exciting for you to do. And then you have these historical fortresses. So historically, the people who inhabited this desert of Rajasthan were very, very proud warrior kings. And they continue to be very proud today, except they're not warriors or kings anymore. So these people formed the border of what is now India. And this was also the border of what was then considered a group of Indian kingdoms, right? This was how it was about 1,000 years ago. There were multiple kingdoms. There was no India. But Rajasthan was the easternmost Indian kingdom at that point also. The westernmost Indian kingdom at that point. So these fortresses were very, very important because they protected the integrity of the motherland. And what you see at the bottom right, that's a Jain monastery. So you'll find a little bit of spiritualism and religion regardless of which part of India you go to. And this part is where you get some access to Jain history. So Jains are like Buddhists in the sense they believe in non-violence. They are predominantly vegetarian, and their religious philosophy is very similar to Buddhist philosophy. So if you're in your 20s, Goa is the place to go to, regardless of which part of the world you're from, right? So there's an airport in Goa called the Diabolim Airport. You know, that's one of the ways you can go there. But Goa is actually not very far away from Bombay or Bangalore either. So it's actually a very, very pleasant road trip. So you could do that. Why do you want to go to Goa? Goa has beaches. Goa has parties all through the year, right? I mean, you're welcoming the new year at the beginning of the year. You're celebrating, you know, January the 20th. You're celebrating March the 23rd. It really doesn't matter. You don't need to have a reason to celebrate in Goa. And Goa also has amazing architecture. So what you see at the bottom right is Goa's own version of religion or spiritualism, as you can call it that. So Goa used to be a Portuguese settlement. So this is a Portuguese church, and Goa still has a lot of people who descend from the early Portuguese settlers. So these are some very, very cool people to hang out with. So now you're going to move south, and you're going to move almost outside the picture, right? So what you see here is the southern tip of India. And then you have the Andamans. These are a group of 600 islands of all sizes in the Indian Ocean. You fly into Port Blair. And the reason you would want to fly into Andamans is because you have corals, you have scuba diving, and then you have some, what you see at the bottom right here, unfortunately, is not of any religious value. This used to be a prison. But that's something that the Andamans is well known for. We have backwaters, the southern tip of India, the left, that's Kerala for you. Extremely popular art. The man on the right is practicing an ancient art form called Sayyam. What you see at the top right here and what you see at the bottom right, you know, there's a lot of water in Kerala because of the way the geography is set up. So that's the houseboat. You actually get to live in that boat for like a couple of nights or something. So that's an option for you. And then you come to where I'm from. I come from the southernmost tip of India, that's Tamil Nadu. You would come to Tamil Nadu because Tamil Nadu is the seat of historical architecture. So these temples and monuments that you see here are more than 1,000 years old. So that's what I have for you today. This is India. We have a billion reasons to visit India. India is not Bangalore. India is not Bollywood. India is not Bombay. There's a billion other reasons to visit, and what's stopping you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. What a colorful presentation. I have a feeling that Karthik might have set us up earlier with his deplorable audio problem. Now he completely recovered both audio and visual. Thank you very much. On to our next speaker, Ms. Carol. I will allow our evaluator to introduce her speech, but I have a special request that during the speech, everybody mute. I will muting everybody. Please do not unmute yourself. We will be making a special recording for Carol. With that, I will turn it over to our evaluator number 2, Christian.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Carol will be speaking along the path Dynamic Leadership, Level 1. She will be delivering her icebreaker. And the purpose of this project is for Carol to introduce herself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Roger, he said back to you.
That's by mistake. Carol, carry on.
Oh, okay. Hello. As PhD students, we needed an outlet to relax. So I suggested soccer, and they nodded their head, yes. So we started recruiting for the team. Everything was going smoothly, and I ended up being the team captain. I don't know about you, but I was like really excited about this. This was a great thing. As I listened to my teammates, they decided that they were in this just for the fun. But I was like, oh no, we're PhD students. We can win this. And so I focused on the opportunity that we had to really show our stuff. But we had different goals and objectives. I didn't realize it, but I was setting me up for failure as a leader. It didn't go well. And by the end of the season, I had almost nobody showing up for the team. I decided I must be a deplorable leader, and I would not sign up again to be a leader. Years later, I signed up for Toastmasters. I don't know about you, but when I signed up for Toastmasters, I went in full force, but it was just to learn communication. I needed to improve my communication skills. Leadership was not on my radar at all. But after all, I'm a deplorable leader, so why would I sign up for that? But Toastmasters has a way of sneaking up on you, and little did I realize that as I continued my leadership journey, I was actually excited to sign up to be vice president of membership. This was the thing where I shined. Why? Because I have the charisma and the excitement, and I want to say hello, and I can't wait to meet you, and oh good, it's good to see you again. I felt like it was a big party. Everything was going just fine, and I said, oh, what the heck, I'm going to sign up for president. And you know what? My team didn't leave me. I actually was having fun with this. Not to say it was an easy road the whole way, but it was fun. And as things continued, I was like, oh, we haven't started any major wars yet. Nobody's died. This is good. I must be a good leader. And as I continued this journey, I said, wow, maybe I have some talent after all. So what does it take to be a good leader? Where do we find these leaders? Well, I did some research on this, and one of the things that came out was leaders need followers. All right, but I know from my soccer experience, it's not just about that. What happens, though, is that our personalities do have an influence on those followers, as long as we can make sure that we're all in alignment with a number of things like the strategy, the goals, and part of my job as a leader is to convince others that this is the direction we want to go in. So in my soccer, I may not have been so successful. With Toastmasters, I seem to have a thing going here. So I keep signing up for more leadership responsibilities. So that has me asking this question. Where do we find the leaders? Are we thinking that hey, sign me up, I'm gonna be the next greatest thing? Or, oh my gosh, how do I know I'm actually doing a good job? Well, if nobody shows up, that's kind of suggesting that I might not be doing such a great job. Or if I'm fighting wars and having wars, that's also suggesting that I might not be doing a great job. So I need to listen to the feedback that is coming and being expressed in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's not so direct, and sometimes it's so direct that it just kicks me in the stomach and I'm feeling the pain. There are different things that happen that I need to pay attention to. And I also need to steer the ship so that we're hitting our goals and our destination some point in the future. As I examine the path to leadership, I also know it's not just about the leaders and the followers, it's also something called the situation. Where am I in this conversation? If it's in a club, are we all having the same type of cultural effect? Have you ever gone to a club meeting and you just said, oh my God, this is not the right club for me. I just don't feel like I fit. Find another club that you do fit, because there's so many opportunities out there. But the situation may not be the right one for you. Round peg, square hole. I've been there. I know that. Let's get the right hole for you. Maybe hole's not the right word, but let's find the right place for you. Now, as we look at it, so we got leader, we got the followers, and then we have the situation. All three things must be in alignment for us to be successful as a leader or as a follower. And by the way, followers can be quite successful, and I love that. All right, we have to work together. Now, at the end of the day, I want to ask you, are you a leader or a follower? We can avoid that leadership opportunity, but why? Because inside of you, there is a leader, and you just have to find the right place and the right group to let that leader out. Where's the leader? I'm looking at you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much for helping us dive right into a paths of dynamic leadership. You're definitely a dynamic speaker also. And to everybody, keep your eye open to the newest path, the deplorable leadership that Carol is going to be creating for us. It will be a new path when Pathway launches to everybody. With that said, let's move on to our next evaluator. Madam Lois, would you introduce to us our next speaker, please?
I would love to, Toastmaster Roger. I am introducing John Todorovich. He is presenting his Project 1, the Icebreaker, from the Persuasive Influence Level 1. The title of the speech is Who You Are. The purpose of this project is for John to introduce himself to the club and learn the basic structure of a public speech. I love his intro. Restless knowledge seeker and the tallest professional speaker in the Philippines. Please welcome John.
Thank you, Lois. Become who you are. What a challenging quote. Would you agree? I recently found this quote, which originated in 1883 by German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. This might prompt you to take a step back and review your life. Why do we review our lives when most people say don't live in the past? I believe that by glancing into past events, we can actually evaluate our lives better. We can make effective decisions for the present and the future. It was year 1982, early spring, the best season of the year. A young woman gave birth in the local hospital to a boy who barely made 11.5 pounds at birth. Yes, he grew up in a country that was destroyed by civil war. That was Yugoslavia, country of dreams that was devastated by corruption and greed. During the 90s, he grew up attending elementary and high school. Most people thought that that was the best time for him. It was around 2001 when he realized that he was lost. He started looking for answers. He didn't know which way to go. On one side, he had a mechanical engineering degree at the local university. On the other hand, a promising career in basketball. One thing he didn't realize is that the answers were right there in front of him the whole time. Become who you are. Consider your options. Do you think he figured it out at the age of 19? Neither did he. Lost for answers, he enrolled in the military service, thinking that it will help him find those answers. That made him excited because after 1 year, he will have those answers. The excitement went away after he came home because he realized that he didn't find any answers. He was devastated and could not comprehend why. For the next 10 years, he spent working various jobs abroad, from farm caretaker to construction site supervisor. He finally settled for hotel general manager, something exciting and fresh that brought that newfound happiness. Hospitality is an ever-changing industry, which requires continuous learning. After a few years, the initial enthusiasm started wearing off. Disappointment started kicking in. Is this the right path for him? Again, he didn't realize that the answers were right there in front of him the whole time. Become who you are. Never stop learning. Do you think he got it right at 31 years of age? Absolutely not. Once again, search for answers began. He resigned from his high-paying job in corporate world and decided to become an entrepreneur. There it was. The excitement was back. He was released from 9-to-5 prison, and the world was at the palm of his hand. The options were endless. Which way to go? What industry to start in? All the signs were indicating that he can choose anything he wants and be successful at it. Why not? If you can have it all, wouldn't you want it all? Yes, once again, the answers were right there in front of him the whole time. Become who you are. Make a choice. My friends, that young man has made more progress than he could ever imagine. He has a successful consulting firm that helps people achieve effective communication and become successful leaders. That young man is facing you in the screen right now. My name is John Todorovic, and I would like to ask you to consider your options. Never stop learning and make a choice. Become who you are. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Wonderful, wonderful. 3 excellent, excellent speech. May I have the timer's report, please?
The first speech, Karthik, took 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Second speech by Carol, 5 minutes and 36 seconds. And the last speech by John, 5 minutes and 17 seconds.
All 3 speaker qualifies. Please go ahead and vote for the best speaker and send your vote to Mara. Up next is our table topic. Monica is out sick. I hope that we pray for her to recover quickly and completely. Mr. Jimmy Dent has stepped in. Please, Mr. Jimmy, topic master, please.
Okay, thank you. Just took me a second because I was voting. So tonight I'm Table Topics Master, and I'm going to follow the questions along with the theme of this meeting, which is cleaning out your computer. If anybody didn't know, February 8th was Clean Out Your Computer Day. So I hope everybody has already cleaned out their computer, which may help you to be able to answer these questions. So I'm going to try to call on people that didn't have speaking roles. So the first person I'll call on is Fabiola. Are you ready, Fabiola?
Okay.
Okay. Why is it important to clean your computer?
Mr. Topic Master. Well, for the very reason that a cluttered computer is very deplorable. It does work on your speed, and you can never find things that you need, especially when you're sharing your screen. Things all over. Where is the file that I need? Also, cleaning your computer makes your computer work faster, smoother, and you also save space that will help you. One of the things also with cleaning your computer, you can get to forget to turn on the timer. So I don't have an idea how long I've been talking right now. But those are the things that will be for somebody that doesn't clean their computer. Thank you, Roger. That is not so good. Back to you, Table Topic Master.
Thank you. And next I'll call on Scott Johnson. Scott, are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be, Jimmy.
Okay. If I was to tell you to wipe down your computer, what will you do?
Mr. Table Topics Master, that's a very interesting question. Wiping down my computer, I could take that probably both ways. I could take it that maybe it's been sitting on a desk and it's just gathered dust and I need to wipe all the dust off and clean the keyboard. Or I could take it also that maybe I need to reformat something on the computer and clean all that junk out. We have spring cleaning. Why not have a spring cleaning for a computer? I know that may be a bit deplorable, but I think it's a good opportunity to clean all that clutter, all those programs we put on there that we don't use or any apps. I would be inclined to think because I'm a clean person, I wouldn't have to wipe my computer down and get rid of all that dust. I would be more inclined to get rid of all that, wipe all that junk out of the computer and have it running nice and fresh so I can go on to online presenters without the breaking down of bandwidth and not being able to finish the meeting. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you. And next, call on Deborah Carr. Are you ready, Deborah?
I'm ready.
Okay. Toasters have a crumb tray. So do computers. So if I told you to clean out your crumb tray, what will you be cleaning?
It just so happened that over the last couple of weeks, my computer was running very slow. And I called my IT guy and I said, hey, what do I need to do? Except I do know to always use the canned air, and I blow out the keyboard and blow out the laptop plus my keyboard. I have two separates. And he said, how many programs do you have running? And I said, a lot. So he had me close those down. And then he said, Deb because he's 2 hours away. So he said, did you clean out the fan? And I said, where the hell's the fan? I mean, I have air, But anyway, so I was holding underneath, and he said, "Is it warm?" I thought, "Yeah." And I said, "But I have 4 inches there." And he said, "It doesn't matter, Deb, is there air circulating?" So I turned on the ceiling fan, and then I took a brush to the fan on the bottom. Later on that night, he came in and behind the whatever he does and did his magic and got me running fast again. But in the meantime, I use my canned air and my little micro whatever it is to wipe off my screen periodically. Mr. Topic Master.
Thank you. Okay. Next, I'll call on Graham. You ready?
Yes, indeed I am.
Okay. Have you ever had a virus, and if so, what would you do if you did have one?
Funny you should mention that, Mr. Topic Master. My first computer, well, my first IBM computer was a 286 computer. I'd had a Commodore 64, and before that I'd even had a Trash 80 or TRS 80, neither of which were likely to get affected by viruses. But my first IBM computer was a 286, and I bought it from a mum and dad computer store around the corner from me. And they said, "Oh, look, we'll throw in some free software with you just to get you started." And I thought, this is great. And then I had it for a few weeks, and then I bought myself some antivirus software, and I ran the antivirus software, and lo and behold, there was a virus. And I thought, oh, all right. So I deleted the program that was supposed to have the virus, and that was fine. And then I reinstalled it, which was, as I say, the computer, which is the software which I had got from my computer store. And I put it back on, and guess what? The virus reappeared. By doing me a favor, giving me this free software, the free software was viral in the first place. So after about 4 attempts to clean everything off, I actually did what I should have done in the first place and went out and bought the genuine software and put it on. And that was the last time that I've had a significant virus. There have been one or two, but that's what happens when you get on the interwebs. Mr. Toastmaster, Topic Master.
Thank you. Thank you. Roger, do we still have time for more table topics, or
That's
how's
it.
our timing coming along?
That's it for table topic, please. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Table Topic Master Jimmy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Fabiola. May I have the timers report, please?
Yes. Fabiola, green and something. I don't know how much. Scott, 114. Deborah, 125. And Graham, 116.
All speaker qualified. Please go ahead and cast your vote and send it to Dr. Mara, please. We will be moving into our evaluation segment of our meeting. First up is our evaluator, David. Mr. David.
Thank you, Roger. I'm belatedly going to read a bit of introduction that I was supposed to read before Karthik's speech. Karthik is an aerospace engineer turned entrepreneur. He spent some time at General Motors R&D before deciding to start his own company. Today, he runs an education venture that helps people get into top-tier MBA programs from across the world. So for somebody who's an aerospace engineer, we can understand why he would be doing the technical presentations manual. My hesitation was this a technical presentation? It could have fit into the format of a number of different manuals that we have. It certainly could have fit into the informative speech type of format. Maybe I'm thinking too narrowly about what technical is, because he was covering geography, which is a discipline that is a mystery to a great many Americans anyway. So but probably more important than that is, regardless of what niche this might have fit into, it was a topic that he was passionate about. And he gave us a tour through all of India, trying to convince us that it is beyond just Bangalore, just beyond maybe the 1 or 2 cities that we might have happen to have heard of. So he was passionate in how he explained the nature of the country, and very vivid in some of his descriptions. So he was using some visuals, but the visuals that came across in his speech about that gorgeous aquamarine blue, the colors that you might think were generated by computer graphics, but no, they're actually nature. So that was excellent material that you had as part of the package, Garth. One thing about the actual presentation format that I noticed was you were showing us the slides in what I think is usually referred to as the slide sorter view. It's not actually the presentation view. So you actually could have been showing us those images bigger and more beautiful by getting into the right viewing mode with your presentation software. And sometimes that, I know that can be a little bit tricky, getting your presentation software synced up with the Ring Central Meetings software, the online meetings software that we're using. So maybe next time when you tune in, if you just want to practice, you can always do that during our warm-up period before we start the official meeting. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but the link for our online meetings is actually active. You can sign in anytime and experiment. You'll be lonely. There'll be nobody else signed in, but you can actually sign in and fire up the meetings and test things like screen sharing. Overall, it's an excellent meeting. It's an excellent presentation, excellent speech, and I look forward to your next one, Karthik. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, David. Our next evaluator is Christian. Christian, please, for evaluating Carol's speech, please.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Carol, congratulations on doing your icebreaker. The first speech to your Pathways journey, and coming from someone who just completed his icebreaker in Pathways a couple of hours ago, well done. Carol, when you started, you told me about leadership, and what I heard was two stories: a failure as a team leader in a football team, and then a success, and I believe still is a success, as a club leader in a Toastmasters environment. That was very well done, because for me, you just drew the picture. You put me in the scene, the challenge, the problems in leadership, and then the successes in leadership. That was very well done. I also heard good use of words. They were descriptive. I heard setting myself for failure, being honest. That actually touched me. I heard round peg, square hole. That was descriptive for me, Carol. I also heard a voice that was clear, that had emotions in it. I could feel you living the leadership position in Toastmasters, that passion, you as a leader working with your followers. I heard those emotions in your tone. That was superbly done. You also had a good use of constructions. You could have used a bit of pause here and there, because at times you were going so fast for me. I felt that you had just so much to share. Just that in 4 to 6 minutes, there's as much as we can fit. I also heard a number of items. You not only had the two stories about failure and success in leadership positions, you had something to say about followers. You had something to say about situation. It was very helpful. The challenge for me was how can I link it up to your call to action at the end, which was, I see the leader. Where's the leader? I'm looking at you. In 4 to 6 minutes, there's as much as can be put in a speech to influence. I understand that the call to action can be for the next club leaders. My recommendation is just to stick to the two stories: the failure as a team captain in a football team, and the success and the pleasure and the joy of being a leader at the topmost position in the club. Those were two powerful comparisons that would have sufficed in 4 to 6 minutes. That's the only recommendation I can share. Otherwise, very well done. I do recommend you to take on the evaluation after your speech. It's very, very helpful in pathways. You'll find it as you scroll along your Basecamp. The best part of all was passion, Carol. I see you as a passionate club leader. You're living it, you're enjoying it. So do bring along the limited number of items in a speech for your next delivery. Bring along that passion, and you're going to rock as a club leader. Over to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Christian. Wonderful evaluation and wonderful hand gestures. Madam Lois, our third evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. My fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and most especially, John. John, we got to know you today. It was very nice. I thought you did a fabulous job with it. Become who you are. That was the thread that you were weaving throughout this entire speech, and you made sure to keep coming back to it. Become who you are. I asked John earlier if there was anything specific he would like me to look at, and he came up with two things. One was the body language, which of course speaks to my heart, near and dear, and the second thing he asked was his vocal variety. I have to tell you, John, I really liked your vocal variety, especially when you were saying some things like, it was starting to wear on, and your voice went kind of down. It was nice. You did a good job. You had a lot of pauses in there, which I thought really helped. I love the fact that you spoke in the third person. This woman had 11.5-pound baby. Now, I got to tell you, I feel for your mama. That is definitely, ouch. But you came back, and it was all in the third person. And at first, I'm thinking, okay, this is the icebreaker about John, right? But it was fun the way you did it, and I liked how you kept your thread, and it just kept going. I liked how you said at 31, had he found himself, did he know who he was? No, he was still looking. He was lost. Good vocal variety, and I encourage you to watch the videotape when it comes out. David sends those out just like that, and I think you'll like that. What could you have done that might have taken this speech just a little bit higher? You were right, the body language. First of all, you did what I did when I started. Now, I'm half Italian, so I was just going like this, and all people saw was this blur going across the screen. People cannot see below a certain point, so when you're using your hands like this, recognize we don't know what you're doing down there. You could have gone farther back if you wanted to and used your hands more like this. You could have made a little more eye contact. I'm not sure if you were reading, but every now and then I would notice that you would do one of these and come back. The trick is if you're going to read it, then put it right up on the screen so you can see it and no one else can. I also noticed a couple of times where you were looking, not sure where you were looking, might want to pay a little more attention to where your camera is so that it's better for you. Because it's hard when you're first doing this. You want to look over here at Carol and over there at Adrian and over here. It doesn't work. Just look at the main camera. Watch your hands. If you're going to use your hands, make sure you bring them high enough that we can all see them. And you might actually, as a final thought, put yourself in full mode in speaker view, because then you can see exactly what other people are seeing and we get to see the whole picture. Overall, you had a wonderful call to action. We got to know who you are, and I am looking forward to your next speech. Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you to all of our evaluators. May I have the timers report on our evaluations, please?
Yes, sure. Our first evaluator, David, 3 minutes and 21 seconds. Christian, 3 minutes and 22 seconds. And Louis, 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Back to you.
Very tight, but all of our evaluators made it. So please cast your vote. the 3 evaluators, David, Christian, and Lois, send your vote to Mara, please. At this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator, Morali, to have him lead us for all the other helpers and reports.
Thank you, Toastmaster. So here I am as a general evaluator. So initially, I would like to have the associate reports. So I would like the R counter to give his report. Doug Mara.
That's actually me, Morelli, as the R counter. Scott.
Oh, okay. I mean, I can do the 2 things. Okay, Scott, please. And you can add the grammarian also, Scott.
Okay, no worries, Mr. General Evaluator. Well, we took notice of using the pause a little bit more because the filler words were very rare indeed. There was only a couple of rights and ums and ahs. Apart from that, you did exceptionally well. For the grammarian report, you were far from deplorable. You did exceptionally well with your grammar. And I have some really interesting phrases that I really liked. There's more to Indian than IT service, which I sparked. I thought that was quite funny. Amazing themes, Momo. There's parties are going. I also heard niche, vivid, aquamarine. You can sign in any time. Exciting and fresh. A 9 to 5 person I thought was quite ideal. Make a choice. Never stop learning. Setting up for failure, full force. And for our people, I thought Ginny Dent did really well to have the theme as the table topics, which is ideal. And there were a couple of people that actually used deplorable, apart from myself. And that was Carol and Roger, and they both tied. So you both get the award for using the word of the day today. So well done to everybody. Congratulations. It was a great meeting, grammatically speaking.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you,
next
Mr.
is Adrienne for the chat monitor, please.
Hi, I'm the watcher today. As far as the screen, I thought some people have a dark background. You need more light. Dagmara, Deborah, Scott, Sam, Orlando, Fabiola. As far as Morali, you have some type of glare behind you with the Winnie the Pooh. Fabiola, when the mask was a great idea for the different colors. However, when you went to pull the mask up to change it, it got very blurry and it really made the picture a little weird. So if you're going to do that, you have to go very slow to change it, because if you go too fast, it kind of blurs the whole thing. Just so you know that. But thank you so much for being the timer, and we appreciate your creativity with that. And excellent, I would have to say the best person is Roger today. His lighting is amazing. The background is awesome, and that is extremely helpful for our Toastmasters to have correct lighting to be an example for the rest of us. And I also thought that David and Carol both also had good lighting and good background. Thank you so much. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Adrienne. Now the chat monitor, the Deborah, please.
Here we are. I finally figured out how to use the chat off to the side, because otherwise it can become quite annoying to see that going on when we have speakers going. And it was nice to listen to the speakers and then be able to evaluate this thoroughly. But it was nice because everyone is so supportive all the way through, always giving kudos to one another, always asking questions, anything from telling Graham about the Commodore 64, starting out there, and I remember getting that from my son. I'm wondering how much older I am, or if you just bought it for yourself. But anyway, also things about the green screen, naturally the cookie thing went right over my head, but all I could think of was just crumbs, and all the whole thing. The chat was busy, but it wasn't overwhelming, and we did a great job.
Thank you, Deborah. Now the final vote counter, Dagmara.
Thank you. All speeches were wonderful, and I want to congratulate everyone. for participating. But the winner in prepared speeches for today is John. So let's congratulate him. For table topics, which were very fun today, I think, we have the winner, Deborah. Congratulations. And the best evaluator, as usual, Lois, congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mara. So now comes the general evaluation. The positive things are the meeting started well and is about to end well too. So that is one thing. So one improvement point that I noticed is the role clarifications. So what I mean is the role of the Toastmaster, and sometimes is mixing with the who is giving the introduction for the speakers. So that is one thing we need to clarify for the subsequent meetings. So does the Toastmaster give the introduction to the speakers, or is he going to ask the evaluator to give the introduction to the speakers? I mean, personally, I feel that the Toastmaster should give the introduction to the speakers. That is my personal view, but whatever the group is aligned with that, we can go with that. And David Carr can give you a shooter of the email before the next meeting so that the Toastmaster is prepared for what he is supposed to do on this. Okay, so that is the only thing. Otherwise, everything went well. Good job. Thank you. Back to the Toastmasters now.
Thank you very much, Malari. Thank you, each and every one of you, our speakers, our evaluators, our impromptu speakers. Wonderful meeting, and I will turn the control back over to our president, Mr. David Carr.
Thank you, Roger. Great meeting, and thank you very much for doing a good job of getting this organized. Speaking of getting things organized, for next week, we do not yet have a Toastmaster of the Day. Now, of course, that's one of the things that Roger is going to solve for all time very shortly. But while we have you here together, we should get at least a volunteer for Toastmaster of the Day. There are a bunch of other things that are open as well, but if we can draft a Toastmaster of the Day, maybe that person can also help fill in some of the gaps. Deborah Carr, I tried to draft you once before and you couldn't commit because you didn't know about your travel. How about next week? Do you know?
Yep, as long as I'm in town, I'll do it. And I should be in town this week.
All right.
Next week.
I'm going to put Deborah down, and if you have to beg off, you'll let us know,
Sure.
And we will adjust as necessary. Let's see. I know we have some guests who were with us today, so we always like to ask our guests to give us a little bit of feedback, tell us what we did well and what we could do better next time from your point of view. So Jay, we get a little feedback from you.
Yeah, so it's hard to say what you all did well and what you could do better at, but I really did appreciate the inclusion and the enthusiasm from everybody and the support that you all gave each other. I thought that was pretty great.
All right, excellent. And I think Toastmasters in general is usually pretty good at that if you have a well-functioning club. Sam, how did you like today's meeting?
It was great. Better than being in the car in the rain from last time. Need to work on my setup here a little bit better, figure it out. But I think after my second meeting, I'm maybe ready to sign up. So I would probably like to know what the process is.
Okay, Sam. Now you have some experience in Toastmasters. You've done more than 6 speeches, anyways, in Toastmasters.
I've gone twice around the CC manual.
You've done the CC twice. Okay, yeah. All right. I was trying to figure out whether that meant you did in two CC speeches. No, those should be slightly different. But that's cool. There is a page on our website called Join that has the application you can download, has a link you can click to pay as well.
I'll go check it out.
And by the way, I should mention to everyone that I just got the notification from Toastmasters International saying we will accept your renewals now. So that means we have to start pestering you all to renew. John is actually off the hook because anybody who started in February or later, I charge them through the fall so that we're not immediately hitting them up again. But anybody else who, I think he's the only one in that situation. Everybody else, we're going to have to hit you up for dues renewal, and I hope you will stick with us.
David, did we pay online last time? I don't remember how we paid.
Yeah, I'll send out a link. I had a page, you know, just like I have a join page, I have a renew page.
Okay.
So different button. So as long as you're comfortable paying online, that's how we do it. Anybody else have something that they want to bring up before we close for the evening?
I do, David. I'm excited to tell you not only will Sam be joining us, but Jay would like to give his speech next week to tell us why he'd like to be part of Toastmasters. He doesn't have his 6 speeches yet.
Okay. All right. So you got to twist our arm a little bit, Jay, but it's been known to happen. So fantastic. We'll look forward to seeing you here next week. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming and have a great week.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye,
All right.
everyone.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Great
Happy
meeting.
I'm going back out onto my cruise ship.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Ah, that's right. Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye, everyone.